Zhang Yi was awakened from his dream. The artificial intelligence system of the base urgently sent a notification to Zhang Yi, warning, warning, the hideout is under attack. The current damage level is 0.00001%. The attack is ongoing. Please resolve the damage issue quickly. Zhang Yi panicked and thought to himself, what? The hideout is continuously under attack. Could it be those zombies coming? However, Zhang Yi was not overly concerned about the zombies, because their attack methods couldn't significantly harm the hideout. He got up from bed and quickly approached the window. There he saw countless claws digging into the surface of the hideout. The ground-level windows were completely covered by mice and zombies. Zhang Yi carefully observed and eventually realized they were large mice from deep within the subway tunnels. They had never appeared before, but this time it seemed that Zhang Yi and his group had killed too many of their kind, which angered them and led to this attack. Constant loud noises echoed in Zhang Yi's ears, causing him some discomfort. Zhang Yi cursed under his breath, damn these pests, why do they come here? Truly troublesome creatures. The large mice didn't have any special strengths, but their sharp teeth could tear through combat gear. Therefore, with a hideout surrounded by these large mice, they would certainly pose a certain threat to the defense system. Zhang Yi felt his hair stand on end, considering the number of these large mice. Even though they couldn't quickly breach the defenses, they would puncture and eventually breach the walls. Through the outside cameras he saw countless mice surrounding the hideout. Now even opening the door to go outside became difficult. Zhang Yi hastily put on his clothes. This time the scale of the zombie group and the mouse pack they faced was clearly many times larger than before. The zombie king was truly enraged. Serving as a warning to Zhang Yi and his group, Zhang Yi immediately called Uncle Yu, Su Chunlei, and Liang Yu to deal with the pack of mice outside. For people and a cat started to systematically eradicate the large group of zombies and mice in a vast area. Zhang Yi looked at the mice and said, if we continue to let these giant mice attack our hideout, it's like that within at most 2 years our hideout will be destroyed. He spoke coldly, we need to hold out for 2 more days. The situation for Zhang Yi and his team was relatively good. They had no casualties and the hideout had not suffered severe damage. However, other forces had suffered heavy losses. Morning Dew Base had to evacuate from the port and take refuge on a large ship at sea to avoid the zombie attacks. Wei Dinghate silently observed the zombies. The zombies are becoming more organized each day, almost like a military unit. They are displaying discipline. Though abandoning the port meant losing their supply lines, it was necessary for long-term development. He thought to himself, other forces don't have the advantage we do. They only fear relatively severe losses. The most dire situation was with the Snow Worship sect, which lacked a solid defensive line against the zombie attacks. Each day a large number of their disciples were lost. However, the invasion of giant mice and the zombie group unexpectedly brought a benefit. They had previously struggled with food shortages, but now the slain giant mice could provide enough food for a person for several days. In such times, they cared little whether the mice carried a virus. Being able to have a meal was considered fortunate. 2 days quickly passed. In Zhang Yi's space, a large amount of seawater had completed the basic sedimentation process, separating out a significant amount of white salt deposits. Zhang Yi commented, although it's still higher than fresh water, it's easier to freeze now. Now Zhang Yi could proceed with his plan. He instructed Liu Karen to prepare several dozen barrels of solidifying agent and a large quantity of explosives. Zhang Yi and his combat team prepared to leave the hideout. Zhang Yi and his combat team got on snowmobiles and left the hideout. Instead of heading straight to the previous train station, they first headed towards a different train station. The objective was to completely freeze the zombies and mice inside the subway train. First, they needed to block all escape routes to destroy a subway station. We don't need an excessively large amount of explosives, Su Chunlei exclaimed loudly. The explosives are ready. Zhang Yi raised his hand to signal readiness, while silently thinking to freeze these zombies and mice completely inside the subway. Zhang Yi pressed the button to activate the explosives. A loud bang echoed through the ground. As the station quickly collapsed, snow and earth buried the subway station deeply. Concerned, Su Chunlei asked, Boss, what if the zombie king senses danger early and tries to escape? Zhang Yi shook his head indifferently. If it runs, that's the best scenario. Our initial goal isn't to kill the zombie king. We just want to ensure that our hideout isn't threatened. Whether it lives or dies near us doesn't matter. Liang Yu frowned worriedly. But if other forces are wiped out, the entire city will be overrun by zombies and mice. Can we just worry about ourselves? Zhang Yi chuckled. You are overthinking. With our capabilities we can only focus on self-preservation. The more you dwell on fear, the more serious it becomes. If we follow your analysis, one day the entire Earth could be destroyed by viruses. What could we do then? Don't worry, first let's concentrate on surviving in the present circumstances. Liang Yu nodded in agreement, conceding to Zhang Yi's reasoning. Afterward, Zhang Yi approached the subway entrance where they had previously fought the zombies. He opened the door to his superpowered space, and began pouring a large quantity of seawater into the subway tunnel. The massive amount of seawater poured down, raging through the long narrow tunnel. At this rate, within 5 hours the entire discharged seawater could cover the entire tunnel. It seems that the mice in the subway tunnel sensed the danger and tried to escape early. However, most of them were swept away by the rushing water, freezing to death on the spot. As for the zombies hibernating inside, they did not awaken. Without encountering any living beings or receiving orders from the zombie king, they quickly sank under the water's pressure. Zhang Yi's goal was to eliminate the majority of the zombies and mice. Even if a few managed to escape, as long as their numbers were insignificant, they wouldn't pose a threat to his group. Inside the subway tunnel, the powerful current continued to surge like a mighty river. Zhang Yi then began opening large containers crafted by Lu Karen filled with a transparent fluid. When this solidifying agent was poured into the filtered seawater, it rapidly started freezing. The ice layer spread deep into the water. Zombies and large mice struggling in the water quickly froze solid. The large mice emitted terrified cries before rushing towards areas not yet covered by the floodwaters, but they couldn't outrun the swift current. In the blink of an eye, 5 hours passed. Now the entire subway tunnel was completely frozen. Zhang Yi brushed his hands off. Our problem can be considered solved now. Even if some zombies and large mice escaped, it doesn't matter. Whether the zombie king was killed or not isn't an issue either. Even if a group of armored zombies survived, they're not a concern. Whether zombies or mice, they only pose a threat in large numbers. Separately, even armored zombies don't worry me. Zhang Yi smiled at everyone. Next we can rest for a while. As for the troubles with the zombies and mice, let the other forces deal with them. Uncle Yu, Liang Yu and Su Chunlei exchanged glances, each showing a slight smile on their faces. The unexpectedly simple resolution of the major problem earned Zhang Yi admiration. Uncle Yu couldn't help but exclaim, superpowers of the space system are indeed powerful. Liang Yu asked, so what are we going to do next? Zhang Yi smirked coldly, what else but continue to fight relentlessly. He always acts cautiously, never leaving any chance for the enemy even though the entire subway tunnel has been frozen. But surely there are still some enemies left in the tunnel. These creatures, whether they are zombies or rats, can still escape. Zhang Yi took out a gun and loaded it. Raising his gun, he said to everyone, let's go. We will kill as many as we can. Finally, one last cleanup, then we'll finish the job. No one had any objections. Zhang Yi and his team rushed towards the zombies, and at the subway entrance, many large rats were dying, and zombies were running outside. It was not surprising that they had destroyed these. But then 4 giant armored zombies crawled out of the subway. Soon after, the zombie king slowly emerged. It was furious that the tunnel had been completely destroyed. The zombie king thought to itself, all the zombies are dead beyond saving, because it had been ordered to continuously nurture the group of zombies here, expand the scale and ultimately destroy the entire city. At this moment, it did not know what to do next. The 4 giant armored zombies surrounded a small humanoid creature covered in white fur. No one could have imagined that this ugly, seemingly weak creature was the zombie king, commanding the entire group of zombies in the subway tunnel. Suddenly a sound reached the ears of the zombie king, and it immediately recognized it as a new order from its master. Without hesitation, it decided to turn and head north. Step by step, the 4 armored zombies followed behind, also heading north. At Radiant Prosperity Base, Xiao Honglian acted ruthlessly. She instructed to dig deep around the base and then pour a large amount of crude oil into it. Quickly move faster, Xiao Honglian said. Every time the zombies and rats attacked, they would set fire to the oil-filled trenches. Immediately a 5-meter-high wall of fire would surround the entire refinery. This fierce blaze would thoroughly burn the zombies and rats. Fire was the most effective method of attacking zombies and rats. However, fuel was extremely scarce nowadays. What Xiao Honglian did was very extravagant. She looked at the burning flames and the zombies, thinking to herself, defending this way results in fewer casualties and losses. As for the fuel consumption, who cares? I have plenty of oil resources, therefore this level of consumption is still bearable. On the side of Zhang Yi's old friend Xing Tian, the situation was not ideal either. The steel workers at Emerald Waterside Base, with the support of superpowers, had become strong warriors. They relied on weapons like iron rods, large hammers and other heavy weapons to fight the zombies. Xing Tian looked at his comrades and thought to himself, every day we have to fight countless zombies, and our strength is being severely depleted. Eventually Xing Tian was forced to lead his remaining subordinates to hide in an underground shelter. He thought that temporarily leaving the steel plant and equipment to the zombies would not cause any problems. The zombies did not use the equipment nor destroy their dwelling places, as they only cared about humans. Scene changes. In the living room of Zhang Yi's residence, Yang Xinxin wheeled herself over to inform Zhang Yi. Brother Zhang Yi, there's a very important package here, you need to take a look. Yang Xinxin handed the computer to Zhang Yi, her eyes also filled with urgency. Oh, what's happened? Let me see, Zhang Yi replied. Zhang Yi focused on the screen and suddenly noticed an email on the computer. The email stated that a special agent from the Jiangnan military district had arrived in the city. The message invited them to the city skyscraper at 2:30 p.m. today. The list of invites included Xing Tian from Emerald Waterside Base, Xiao Honglian from Radiant Prosperity Base, Wei Dinghe from Morning Dew Base, Yuan Kongya, the leader of Snow Worship Sect, along with Zhang Yi. At the bottom was the signature of the Jiangnan military district. When Zhang Yi saw the letter, his eyes widened. The Jiangnan military district wasn't at the headquarters of one of the top 5 military forces in Jiangnan Nation. This was common knowledge for the people of H Nation. The 5 major armies of H Nation represented the strongest military forces in the country. During peacetime they were the pillars of the nation. After the apocalypse, they remained the solid foundation of China Nation. The strength of the Jiangnan military district was unquestionable, one of the reasons Zhang Yi could triumph. In the previous situation, destroying the Xishan base was thanks to the support of a missile from the Jiangnan military district. If the Jiangnan military district wanted, they could erase Zhang Yi's city from the map in an instant. How could Zhang Yi not be in awe of such a powerful force? Zhang Yi asked, "Are you sure this is really from the Jiangnan military district?" Yang Xinxin nodded. "Yes, I am certain it's them." Zhang Yi frowned. "How can we be sure that this package is truly from them and not some prank or conspiracy?" Yang Xinxin nodded again. "Yes, I think it must be them. Zhang Yi, I can assure you that this package is definitely from the Jiangnan military district, because our internet system is protected by a strong firewall. Anyone who wants to contact us needs to be approved. If I don't allow it, their information can't reach us. But this package passed through the firewall I set up directly into our mailbox. Only 2 types of people can do this. First, a hacker better than me. And second, a military authority with higher powers in the internet domain. Clearly in H Nation no one could do this in a short time without being detected by Yang Xinxin, so I can conclude that the sender is definitely from the Jiangnan military district." Yang Xinxin continued, "It's just unclear what their sudden visit to the city this time is about. I suspect it might be related to the zombie issue." Yang Xinxin expressed her speculation. Zhang Yi became serious. "If they can really do that, does this mean our network system is not safe?" Yang Xinxin disagreed and smiled. "Our real hideout is on an internet using independent servers with no connection to the outside world. It cannot be breached." Zhang Yi sighed, his eyes filled with concern. He still felt that the issue had become more complicated with the interference of external forces, and the overwhelming power of those colossal military monsters. The situation was becoming uncontrollable. Zhang Yi speculated, "I feel that their visit might indeed be related to the zombies. Currently the zombies are too large in scale, and their origins are mysterious. If it is allowed to develop, perhaps all 20 million corpses in Tianhai City will turn into a gigantic zombie horde, not to mention the terrifying monsters mixed in with the zombies. Once the zombies and the rat horde spread to other cities, it will become an uncontrollable disaster." Yang Xinxin nodded. "From this letter, it's clear they have a thorough understanding of the entire city situation. That's why they specifically named us, accurately identifying each leader of every faction." Zhang Yi leaned back on the couch, holding his head in thought for a moment. "I think we should go there. We don't need to make enemies with a major military district," he said slowly. "Considering their military capabilities, they would not attack small factions like ours. However, for safety's sake, I'll still bring the strongest team possible to ensure maximum safety." Zhang Yi was not too worried about safety. Currently in the entire city except for their own house, the other factions had been significantly weakened. Zhang Yi and his team, when going out, would not face significant danger from any faction, so Zhang Yi called everyone to gather in the living room and informed them of this news. When they heard that people from the Jiangnan military district were coming to the city, there were mixed reactions. Some people were excited, while others were worried. Su Chunlei, one of the worried ones, said to Zhang Yi, "We are currently living steadily, but the appearance of a new force might change our current circumstances." Zhang Yi shook his head, disagreeing with Su Chunlei. "Even though this city is a port city with abundant supplies, compared to the Jiangnan military district, what we have is insignificant." In their eyes, even if I take all the supplies from the supermarket, it would not be important to the Jiangnan military district. Jiangnan has always been the largest trade area. The Jiangnan military district controls the entire region in terms of supplies. They certainly are not lacking. For ordinary people, the extreme cold climate can cause many difficulties, including a shortage of necessary supplies. But for a large district with immense energy, these problems can be easily solved. After hearing Zhang Yi's explanation, Su Chunlei began to feel more at ease. "If that's the case, then it's good. I was just worried that our peaceful life would be disrupted. People living comfortably always don't want any changes to happen," Su Chunlei said, a sentiment Zhang Yi understood well. Uncle Yu, who had a military background, spoke up. I think we should trust them. Uncle Yu continued, that Jiangnan military district is very powerful. They certainly don't want to see a large city like ours turn into a chaotic zombie stronghold. Liang Yu also nodded, I hope so too. In the situation where zombies surround the city, everyone asks for higher powers to come and help solve the current difficulties. Although the current hideout isn't severely affected, living in such a large city no one can be sure about the future. Zhang Yi nodded. Therefore if there's a way to solve the zombie issue thoroughly, that would be the best. Since we read this information, we must check it out no matter what. Then he turned to Yang Xinxin. Yang Xinxin, you are responsible for monitoring the network. Although we can confirm that the package is from the Jiangnan military district, we still need to guard against unforeseen plots, even though the possibility is low.